This episode of the Good Living Now podcast is sponsored by our friends at Kuvings. Now, I've had almost every brand of juicer on the market since I started my healing journey in 2015. But the Kuvings Auto 10 has been a complete game changer. It's easy to use and easy to clean. Plus, I'm able to make smoothies as well as sorbets and plant-based milk. So use my code JUICEGUY and save 10%. All right, you know what to do. Get your juice on. Welcome to the Good Living Now podcast, where we talk to real people about real change leading to real health. I am your host, Harold LaFalle, and today I have an incredibly special guest today. She is truly age-defying. Y'all not gonna believe it, but she is 77 years young, and she's healthy, fit, and fine. That's right, I said fine, and she's 77. And she's been a vegan for 50 years and a raw vegan for 40 years. And she's going to share with us a little bit about her journey and how she's able to look so fit and fine at 77. Welcome to the show, Karen Calabrese. Hey, Karen.
Hey, Harold. Hi. Thank you so much for inviting me to do your show. This is anytime I get the opportunity to talk and spread the word, I'm there. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being on the show. You know, I saw you many years ago on the Oprah Winfrey Show. And I think you were in your 50s. And I
53.
remember 53. And I remember seeing you, and you were talking about the fact that you ate plant-based. Now, back then, 20 years ago, I had never heard plant-based, vegan, or any of that. And so I was like, how did she do that? Because I was still eating burgers and French fries and all that other stuff. And so, when I saw you recently on Instagram, I said, oh my God, I remember her. I said, I got to get her on the show to let us know how she's able to do what she's doing and to look so fabulous at
Thank you.
77.
Well, I have to
So
tell you, I do it as much for vanity as I do for health. Okay.
come on now.
And there's a reason behind that because everything out here shows what's going on in here. All right. So, I like to throw in, I've done no Botox, no surgery, no fillers, and I have nothing judgment of anybody choosing to do that. You do what makes you feel good. But you see, I don't want to hide my roadmap. And everything out
Mm,
there, every line, every wrinkle is showing you what's going on with your liver, your kidney, your bloodstream. So, I can go a little off base sometimes with, say, too much sweets, and I'm talking about fruit sweets. And then I get this little line here. That's the 11s that all the women are putting fillers in to get rid of. Well, that's my spleen pancreas. I'm just 77. I just can't take in all that sugar anymore, even the natural sugar. So, like I
mm.
said, the vanity also tells me the health progress process that I'm in because everything out here should. So the minute I get a little something, I hear, oh, my adrenals are off, or oh, you know.
Wow.
But I believe God gave us that picture to learn to pay attention. And in Chinese
Mm.
medicine, they do it consistently. This is how they read you. The tongue, the face, the eyes, and the hands. This is how they read your health.
Right. Well, Karen, what started you on this journey?
Yes.
Because 50 years vegan, how did you even know what that was?
I used to laugh at people like me back then. I was, I was in a different world totally. And I laughed at people that were into all of this. But my mother got very sick, and my mother passed away at 47. And my
Mm,
grandmother passed away at 50. And my great grandmother died at 60. And I was like, oh, something's not right here. I'm next
mm,
in line. What's going to happen to me? And so I
right.
started doing a little research. Well, no, even before that. No, I won't say I was that smart. So before my mother got sick, because I was constipated all the time. That's right. Constipation is a huge marker of what's going on internally. My
Hmm.
mother said, oh, I read someplace, Karen, drinking carrot juice will help you to go. Because I had been
Hmm.
constipated my whole life. The doctors used to tell my mom, well, that's just her system. I wouldn't go for a week or 2 weeks. And I had bad skin. I would blah, blah, blah. Anyway,
Mm.
so she said, let's try carrot juice. So I started drinking carrot juice, and being the slightly obsessive compulsive person I am, I wasn't just drinking a few, I started drinking quarts of it. And I started going to the bathroom. I'm like, wow, this is incredible. I'm going to the bathroom. And of course, if you go to the bathroom regularly, you're going to start to feel better because you're not walking around with a bunch of crap inside, right?
Right.
So I started going to the bathroom, and this is how what I teach. because I believe that we all intuitively know what's right. We're born knowing how to take care of ourselves. Every cell in here comes with a code and a message. We just haven't learned to read it. We've covered it up with so much toxicity, and the world throws so much to us to put us in a whole different matrix where we don't even think about what we're doing anymore, what we're feeding, the most magnificent thing we'll ever be given. So I think I was just awakened by God's spirit universe because I was putting all this living food into my system. And when I started
Mm.
doing that, I came from a typical Black diet, you know, of African American, the foods and all, but I developed a natural repulsion to meat. I didn't say one day I'm not going to eat meat or chicken. I was making chicken soup. I've always loved to cook in the kitchen, and I left the chicken in too long, and the bones were over here and the skin was floating here. And I went, oh my
Mm.
God, what am I doing? So it was literally an awakening from spirit, God, universe to me, which I think we all have intuitively. We've just forgotten and we don't know how to tap into it. And I just
Mm.
couldn't, I couldn't stomach looking at it, even thinking about doing it anymore. So that's where my beginnings came, that I just had this natural awakening cooking up an animal, you know, and I love
Mm.
animals. I've had dogs my whole life, cats, and I'm thinking, what are you
Mm.
doing? Anyway,
Mm.
so that began, and then my skin started to clear up, and my started to go to the bathroom, and my PMS, all the things that I was plagued with were changed. And
Mm.
all it was what I put in here created what happened out here. It's that simple. Cause and effect is what rules us all. We just not learned to tap into it.
Wow. Isn't that just amazing though how powerful food can be, but on the other end, how toxic it can be if you're eating the wrong things. Yeah.
Cause and effect. But here's the thing, the world, we're living in a very hostile world for human beings. It's very
Mm-hmm.
hostile. Nothing is like what it was created. I mean, the oxygen levels, nothing. We're supposed to be in a jungle, in a rainforest, you know, with
Mm-hmm.
38% oxygen levels. We're not supposed to have to read organic or non-organic. We're just supposed to be able to pick it and eat it, right? But we created this very toxic world. And so we have to learn to navigate it, and we have to do some extraordinary things to find the balance that we were created with. So it's just it's all, you know, the world has just taken this other direction, but I think it's taken this other direction for those of us to find the right direction, because everything isn't for everybody. I always say, you know, I have friends that are hunters. You know, it breaks my
Mm.
heart to think of an animal. I have friends that eat steak, you know, but I also believe that I love zebras, and I'd be very bored if the whole world had nothing but zebras. So we all need all the different types of people and things, you know, to create the world that we're to learn and we're to grow, because we're here in the University of Life, right? This time around. So it's what we're going to learn in this time around. So we need everything around us. So I don't poo-poo anybody or anything. I'm just so
Mm-hmm.
grateful that I got on this bandwagon at such an early age.
Right, right. And like I said at the top of the show, you are absolutely stunning, and you look decades younger than 77. But one of the things that, as people get older, we think that there's going to be this natural decline. We just accept the fact that we're going to end up on all types of medication, and it's just like we've just kind of accepted that kind of mindset.
This is the matrix that we're living in. That's what I'm talking about. The world is set up for that. I fell and busted my head a few months ago. I am clumsy. I haven't been to a
Mhm.
doctor in 50 years. I don't get mammograms. I don't get pap smears. I don't recommend that for
Wow.
anybody, but I will not step into that world. I feel I know what's right for me, and I don't say that's for everybody. But I
Right.
have broken some bones, and it's not because I have osteoporosis. It's just because I'm so and I'm running around and trying to get so
Mm.
many things done, even at 77. Because the reality is, we are not supposed to decline just because the axis of the world went around one more time. Oh, I got another
Mm.
birthday. This is going to happen. Your cells are self regenerating. Every 7 years, you get new ones, you get new tissue, you get new bone. So why are we declining? Because not only are we not putting the right stuff in, but we're putting too much of the wrong stuff in. And this is where people come in
Mm.
all the time. Well, you know, should I take this for this or this for that? Well, it's not about, you can't compartmentalize the body the way modern medicine has. It's taking care of the whole body, mind, and spirit. It's
Mm.
detoxing and cleansing out all the old stuff that you've done consistently for years. right? It's
Mm,
a whole process. Life is an orchestra. It isn't a one note, one instrument. It is an orchestra. And it's
mm,
learning to put the whole orchestra in the right sound, the right vibration at the same time. And this is my life's work. This is how I live. People go, "What do you have for breakfast, Karen?" Prayer and meditation every morning. I get up at
mm,
5:30 every morning. I don't go near my phone before 9 a.m. I don't care who it is or what it is, because before we had this, you would have had to wait anyway. So I'm busy putting everything into myself, building, being the band leader of my orchestra, to see that I
mm-hmm.
have as much in place as possible before I let the world come in, because the world is hostile to me as a human being. Um,
You know, I once heard Susan L. Taylor say, "You have to give yourself to yourself before you give yourself away."
yes, I couldn't have put it better. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And I do
yeah.
that and I didn't always start out with that much time. It was a half hour in the beginning. I had two kids 13 months apart. This has been a
Mm,
process for me. And that's what I like to remind people too. You don't go from A to Z overnight, but allow and enjoy the process all the way. Don't have a lot of expectations. Do what you know and feel is right, and then see what happens. Because there's a bigger plan out there for all of us. I
mm-hmm.
say, and I'm real big on more than anything, is cleansing and detoxing my body. Even though I'm 100% plant-based, I would say 99.9% raw. I don't drink, smoke, or do drugs. I detox 4 times a year without fail for the past 40 years. And it's because I'm living in this toxic world and I don't have control. Yeah, I buy organic. Yeah, I have a garden now where I grow my own stuff. But you know what? Uh, the chemtrails going across, or that organic farm is right next to the pig farm. We can't expect to have the grace that we were meant to have because we've set up another reality.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I detox my body 4 times a year. And I think that's why I enjoy even the visual health that I do more so than a lot of raw food vegans or people that are just plant-based or whatever, because I still take the time to clear out everything that I don't have control over. And some of the stuff that I've had control over and just kind of screwed up a little bit here and there. I'm a human being, you know?
Mm-hmm. You know, that is so important what you mentioned about detox. Could you say, even though you're 100% plant-based, detoxing is still important because there's some things we just don't have control over, like what's going on in the air and the water, and just things that we're
That,
exposed to.
right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I hear sometimes people see folks who are quote unquote vegan, and they get ill and they're like, well, how did that happen? Well, there are other things that are going on, you know. So,
Okay.
uh, but when you talk about detoxification, you say you detox every quarter. What does that look like? Because I think people hear that, but they don't really know what that
Oh, they
means.
call
People,
detoxing everything now. If you give
right.
up fish for a day, you're detoxing, right? And
Right.
so
People sell teas and then they think you can get these teas. So
right, right.
what does that look like?
Well, I teach one. I've taught one for the past 50 years, 45 years, and so much of it comes from what I learned from Dr. Ann Wigmore, who started the whole raw movement, and it comes from Victoria Sklavenskas, who discovered wheatgrass from us. These were my teachers. And I'm still in very close contact with
Mm,
Victor, who lives in the jungle in Costa Rica. So these were the people that started kind of the whole process, other than the natural hygienists. They were doing it before. And so I use her protocol, and it entails working with everything. You don't just all of a sudden start water fasting or juice fasting. We go raw first, because what I believe in is taking people over bridges. You don't eat steak one day and drink water, the next day. The body doesn't know what's going on. It
right.
goes, well, I mean, you're starving me to death. It doesn't know that it's
Mm,
healing. So
mm,
I know that there are many other forms of detoxification other than the one I teach. I believe there are many roads to the top of the mountain, but I'm very comfortable because I get your blood sugar levels in balance, I get your protein levels, and we shrink your stomach so that you're ready to fast. Because here's another thing I see continually. I mean, some of my raw food brethrens and vegan, you see, they do their pictures and they got, I mean, so much food I want to throw up. I mean, people are eating so much, even in the right world. Your stomach is this
mm,
size, that it is a little sack.
mm,
And when you're close to balance, it doesn't take much to fill you because you're just feeding the cells what they need. I mean, when I fast, nothing really happens for me much anymore. And my teacher, Victor, says it's because my body has learned to work so efficiently with less food.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So there are many roads, there are many forms of detoxification. I, of course, teach mine for the same one, and we get incredible results. But like I say, mine isn't the only one. I think if when if you want to use the word detox, it's what are you going to relieve your body from and help the cells to regenerate again. That's what it's all
Mm-hmm.
about. So cleanse, detox. You know, when I started teaching 50 years ago, when you detox, you were getting rid of alcohol and drugs, you know, but it's such a buzzword now. I don't even like to use it so much anymore. It kind of drives me
Mm.
crazy. I teach something called a sugar, but I don't call it a sugar detox. I call it a sugar break. Because
Mm.
the other thing about that too is people have this misconception that if I detox, now everything's okay. You know, I
Right,
did my
right.
detox, it's all done. And you don't
Mm-hmm.
realize you didn't just eat one negative thing and all of a sudden you got to where you were. So it is a process and you have to keep going over the bridges and life is going to come in and it's going to throw you stuff and you're a human being. You're not going to get it all right away. It just doesn't happen that way. I mean, uh, when I started out years ago, even with that, I mean, 50 years ago, I was a pot smoking vegetarian. You know, I don't do it any longer, but emotionally or whatever I needed to work on, that's where it took me. And I had to keep going across bridges to get myself where I am now. So I like to stress to people, I'm glad you've decided to detox, whatever form you came up with, it's great. But I also say to people, like, look at you. Look at me. I want to look at the person and they look like they're doing what they're saying. You know,
Right,
I'm
right,
not going to go to an overweight nutritionist. I'm not going to go to a sick doctor. I'm not going to go to a stiff yogi. I'm not going to go to a bald hairdresser, even though I know it's in now, you know, or I'm not going to
right,
go to a dentist with her teeth falling out. So
right.
look at the person that you're choosing to follow. Like I said, mine isn't the only way, but make sure they're manifesting and living and doing what it is you need to get for you or you want to learn because you may not even know what you need. Most people don't even know
Mm.
what they need.
Mm.
They feel if
Mm-hmm.
they haven't been diagnosed with something, they're healthy and they don't know what's brewing on in there.
Right, right, right. So one of the things that I've noticed when people first like do a detox, they start having like symptoms like headaches and they feel sick and they get scared and they think that something is wrong.
It's working.
Mm.
That
Mm.
means it's working. You see, it means that it's working. You get weaker before you get stronger. You know, even when you work out, you break down
Mm.
the muscle before you build it up. I'm a dancer,
Mm.
you know, on point. I broke down my ankles before they were able to hold me the way they needed on point and dance. So you get weaker before you get stronger. And I also liken it to like you're kind of born somewhere up here and you kind of eat your way down here and live your way. And you got to go through a lot of this to get back to the other
Mm-hmm.
place. So a lot of times you can have a detox and nothing can happen. You're in a honeymoon. But sometimes when you hit a layer of dirt, cha-ching, cha-ching, you're a winner. That means you are releasing what it
Mm-hmm.
was that needed to get out of your system. Because
Mm.
it isn't just a to Z, all right, I stopped eating this and I'm fine. You're still a product of all the years of what you did before you came to that. And that's what people don't want to recognize. It's what the world has done. Allopathic medicine has made us believe that it's a one note thing. Take an operation, you're done. Take a pill, you're done. You know,
Right.
whatever, and you're done. And that isn't the reality. Like I said,
Mm.
there's an orchestra here, and you have to address everything to make it
Mm.
work like I feel it's working for me.
Mm-hmm. Right, right. Well, it's obviously
Did
it's
I
working
answer
for
your
you.
question?
No, no, you did
So,
though. Yeah,
the most
yeah.
important thing to me is detoxing. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's great because when I run my classes, you don't have to be plant-based, vegan, or vegetarian. You don't have to have any of these labels already. My
Mm.
classes are for everybody, and it's for people who want to get an insight into themselves. It's not about me, what I'm telling you to do, because, like I said, we intuitively know. So I help you break down the layers of toxicity, and then your cells, your body, your God, your spirit is going to tell you where you're supposed to be in this moment and moving forward. Because what I do see, Harold, so many of the young people today, and everybody's young to me now, but so many of the young people today, you know, they go, oh, I'm going to be a raw Buddhist. And then 4 years later, oh, I'm eating raw meat, you know, and then 4 years later, you know, they're just every
Mm.
10, because they're going with the brain to do it and not what their gut, what their, their cells are telling them to do. They're going with what has been
Mm.
told from the outside. So I believe the way I work and believe in working is crossing bridges. So you may do my whole detox and then go back to eating fish and not something else.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the crux. And then you detox again, and then you don't need the fish after that. It's learning
Mm.
to see what's going on for you, not what I say you
Right.
should be, but what you know you're supposed to do. And you have to keep detoxing. And I was carnivore, and then I became a vegetarian, felt fabulous, went from vegetarian to vegan. Oh my God, this is how I can feel. Went from vegan to raw. Oh, really? And then I gave up all sugar, including fruit, for 6 months. Lost another 10 years on my face. And it was like, really, this is how we're supposed to feel. So it's that
Right.
continual learning and changing, not finding a label and being stuck there.
Right. Right. Karen, that is so important what you said, because my intention was not to become plant-based. I wanted to feel better. And when I was going through my whole healing journey with cancer, I started learning all of these things that I was eating, like meat and dairy, had a direct correlation to prostate cancer. I started cutting those things out, and I started to notice I started feeling better. And I remember I was like addicted to dairy, specifically cheese, and I would eat it all the time. And every time I ate it, it always felt like I was catching a cold, but I still would eat that. And I think a lot of times we just don't pay attention enough to what we eat and how it makes us feel.
A lot of times, no, people don't. There's just, I'm hungry, and you stuff it in. You know what I'm saying? This is
Right.
convenient, you stuff it in. And that's why I continually say how to take care of the most magnificent machine, because we'll get a new watch or a new camera, and you get all this research on how to take care of it and what to do and how to run it. But we're born because our parents didn't know, our grandparents didn't know, but it was a different time too. They didn't have as much toxicity to live with as we do. But it's not, and I don't think it's a bunch of stupid people. The world isn't just set up to think about this, and this is where you need to put all your time, energy, focus, and money, and then everything else falls into place.
Right. Right. Right.
And like you said, you didn't start out. My new book, I'm writing a third book, and my new book is called The Unintentional Vegan, because I didn't start out
Mhm.
to do this. This isn't where
Right.
and that's why I know it's, for me, it's the way it's meant to be if you listen to yourself. But for some people, it isn't at this point in time.
Right.
It isn't
Right.
for everybody. We need visuals and everything around us to learn and grow.
Hmm.
So I'm doing a series right now. I'm doing some podcasts. I'm stepping into your world, but and with some medical doctors, because there's this
Hmm.
whole big push on the internet right now for meat. It's all about animal protein. Everybody got to build animal protein. My dance teacher I mentioned, I want him to meet you somehow,
Hmm.
where you got to have animal protein to build muscle. And I've said for 50 years, the most muscular animals are vegan animals or vegetarian
Right.
animals,
Right.
right? And so everybody's going around talking about I need animal. And I've even had a couple of young women say, well, I would love to be plant-based, but where am I going to get my protein, and my hormones are affecting? It's like, okay, let's stop and think about this a moment, right? Uh, the animals are getting the protein, they're getting the chemicals and stuff that you're worried about, and then you're eating it anyway. That's going to affect your hormones. It's just
Mhm.
such a unique world. I'll leave it that unique. And I didn't have as hard a time 50 years ago when I started, because people couldn't Google everything I said when people send you
Right.
their opinions. It was easier. You just listen to me, but that's okay. Everybody needs to learn.
That's so funny, because people often ask me about protein, since I'm vegan, and I'm doing a year of only raw, and just to see how I feel, and I feel amazing. And folks are like, well, what are you doing for protein? I'm like, well, there's protein in vegetables, there's protein in nuts and seeds, there's protein in a lot of things. I think we've just been so conditioned to think protein in meat. And I think we think of protein like you have to have a whole bunch of protein. And I think a lot of us are probably eating too much protein.
Well, that's one of the precursors to having cancer, and 1 in 2 people will have cancer in our lifetime. When I taught 20 years ago, it was 1 in 10, and
Mhm.
it's everybody is getting meat all day, every day, and especially in our culture, and I heard you
Mhm.
mention the dairy. Well, the dairy is worse for Black people than anything else that we're eating, because the cow isn't indigenous to our part of the world anthropologically. So we haven't even learned to assimilate it as well as some other cultures. So
Mhm.
it is even worse than meat for us doing the
Right.
dairy. So, and that's one of the hardest things to give up, because of all the chemicals that they put in to bind it. They use pig guts and the chemicals that they use. And so you get addicted to those things, not necessarily the cheese, because we're all supposed to have salt, fat, and sugar. That's part of the human condition. right? Salt, fat,
Mhm.
and sugar. But where are you getting your fats? And being raw, I hope you're sprouting like grains and
Mhm.
seeds. You're not just doing raw vegetables. I mean, not you could, but for the variety in your body wants a lot. I mean, I sprout uh, quinoa. I sprout everything,
Mhm.
which is the way.
I just learned about black rice. I love black rice. You just
Sprout that.
yeah,
Yep.
sprout. Yeah,
Every,
yeah.
you just sprout everything, and sprouting is the highest energy of any food. It's like the
Mhm.
electricity turning on everything. This is how God, and this is the electricity for our cells. So there's so many things that people just aren't aware of. I'm going to be doing a series of cooking classes. I haven't wanted to do them on cooking because you know what it is? I'm not a chef. I'm a great
Mhm.
idea person. And there's so many people that do it better than me now. I came up with half the
Mm.
ideas that people are doing it. I did cheese 50 years ago, all the milk, the stuff. But I'm going to do them just because I have great ideas about all this stuff. I don't know how
Yeah.
to chop fast and all this stuff. I use all the machines and stuff to do it. But
Mhm.
there's so many things that you can eat, and it's so delicious raw. But here's the deal, and I bet you're finding this. The longer you're doing this, the less variety you need and the less food you need, right?
Yep. Yep. That's so true. I can eat the same thing all week.
Yes,
I
yes,
can eat the
yes.
same thing.
The less
It,
variety you need and the less food you need, because we're not, well, here's another thing. I believe it's in my belief system. We started out as humans, we were breatharians, and then we
mhm.
became fruitarians, and then we became vegans, and then we became vegetarians. I mean, vegetarians, and then carnivores, right? So
Mm,
it's
mhm.
so we're really not supposed to need a lot of food to sustain ourselves. If you're putting in the right food to feed the, which is why I have so much energy. I eat so little.
Mm,
I sleep four
mm.
and a half hours a night for the past 20 years. I'm never tired. I'm never sick. It just isn't a part of my world because my body
Wow.
doesn't have to spend a lot of time digesting, because digestion is the hardest working system in the body. And the more it
Mhm.
has to digest, it's going to slow you down, which is why these big
Mm.
meals at Christmas and Thanksgiving, everybody's sitting around falling asleep, right?
Right, right.
It's like it takes so little fuel to fuel the human
Mhm.
condition if you're doing the right fuel, and you don't need a lot of variety. I always tell people when I
Right.
eat a lot, I'm just being greedy, or I'm trying something new because I'm not really hungry.
So, Karen, what would you say to someone who may be 40, 50 years old and have been eating the standard American diet, they're probably on high blood pressure medication, maybe have type 2 diabetes. What would you say to them just in terms of how to start living healthier, like for some simple things that they can start doing?
Well, I think uh, I would say probably one of the first things to do is start drinking water first thing in the morning before anything, because that's the real food of the body. If you can just get by whatever time you get up and when I start people in my classes, we add baking soda to the water too, to automatically make the body more alkaline, because everybody's going to do apple cider vinegar and all. So you just put some baking soda in the water, and to do nothing but water, 16 to 32 ounces. And I don't want you to chug it. I want you to put a little salt in your mouth first so that it gets into your cells and just doesn't run through your kidneys. And then wait to see if you're hungry. All right. And
Mhm.
then make that first choice of food when you're hungry. So I guess what I would say to them is set some goals and intentions, make them doable. Don't make them so, overwhelming.
Mhm.
And like people go, well, coffee. Well, you couldn't pay me to drink coffee, but I don't take coffee away right away. I go, drink your water first. And then if you
Mhm.
still feel the need, then have the coffee. Because you see, we try to do everything from the brain, but there is a cellular thing. And if you can kind of change that, what's going on there, you change what you want to. So I would say
Mhm.
drinking water first thing, not chugging it all day because you're just kind of ruining your kidneys, sending too much through anyway. Drinking water. I would say giving up dairy for everybody and finding it in everything, because your body starts to receive things differently when you don't have all this mucus and inflammation around everything, although you need to detox to get it out. So I would say giving up dairy, and follow me on Instagram and my podcast and everything.
It's so because I'm going to ask you about your classes and how people can follow you. But I wanted to touch a little bit on your activity level because you're 77 and you're not the typical 77. You're taking dance classes, you're exercising regularly, and that to me is so inspiring, because again, as people get older, they think that they have to slow down and stop doing things. And you're just defying all that. You say you haven't been sick in 50 years.
I don't know what illness is. I mean, I've broken
Wow.
some bones. And so here's this story is kind of great because I'm 77. So at 71, I fell and I broke my shoulder in 17 places here.
Oh,
And
wow.
then I broke this shoulder. So I have a prosthesis here, a claw here, and a pin in my knee. And when they got done with me, I couldn't lift my arms up any higher than this. They told me I wouldn't dance again. They gave me all these, their little stuff of what they thought was expected. And I got my arms up. I'm back in ballet. I'm not where I was, but the point of the story is I wasn't defined by what happened to me at 71. All right. I think another thing too is for people to realize that they have more insight and control over themselves than they realize. We're so used to giving everything to everybody else, even me, even you. Don't get check in with yourself. So yes, I'm dancing. I do it because it doesn't occur to me. I've never paid attention to the markers they give me. When they started sending me that ARP crap when I was in my 40s, I threw it right out.
Right.
I don't call myself a senior. And you said something that I'm going to call you and you say you're 77 years old young. No, I'm 77 years old because you never tell somebody they're 17 years young. You only use that for old people, okay? I'm gonna stop you on that right there. I'm
Okay, okay,
77 years
all
old. You don't
right.
say she's 32 years young. No, okay.
You said,
Anyway, so I don't adhere to any of the stuff that they
right.
say is. Although I will give you one example of one thing I do
Yeah.
do. So
Okay.
my ex-husband was dying in the hospital, and I went there to be with him and whatever. And I'm leaving the hospital, and I looked at the parking was $20, and I said, "Do you have something for seniors?" So I use it to my advantage, but I don't buy into it at all.
But and so Karen, do you also do one-on-one coaching with individuals? I know
Yes,
you
I
have
do. I
classes.
do one-on-one coaching. I have my
Um,
classes online. When I had a brick and mortar, people came into the classes, but I do
mhm.
one-on-one coaching. I do have a free Patreon. Every Wednesday, we meet at 7 p.m. So people that are doing my classes or people that are making changes, if they want to come in and ask me questions, you can come. That's 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. If you go to into my bio or whatever, you can click on free Patreon because it's free. Because you want to know what, Harold? I don't want to sit on my computer answering people. I don't want to have my head down. I don't want to be looking
Right,
at that blue light in
right,
my face. I don't
right,
want to do it.
right, right,
Besides, most of the time, if you do that, they're going to go, oh, great. And then they're going to go to the next person and ask them. I want you to think about what I'm saying.
right,
I
right.
want you to take the time and put some energy to ask me the question, not just type something and then swipe away to something else. And then there are other people on, so other people are affected by your questions and answers and
Mm,
whatever, because it makes us more of a world together coming into this. It isn't just me and you and whatever. So I
mm,
do the free Patreon on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time.
mm.
And it's videotaped, so if you miss it, you can go back and look at others. I do my subscription classes. I do one-on-one counseling. I have a line of products that I've been developing and selling for over 50 years. Yeah. When
What
people
kind
ask
of
me
products do you have?
everything, Harold, go to my website. Anyway, here.
Okay. So what is your
No,
website?
well, it's shopkarens.com.
Okay.
And Karen is spelled with a Y. I like the I and the E, but I'm with a Y. And I
Uh,
have like green living fiber and I have all these things that I developed and I developed with my teacher, Victoria Sklavenskas, who discovered wheatgrass and stuff for us, ozonated magnesium, everything that I do, everything that I give my
mhm,
81-year-old husband. And I will
mhm.
say he's on no medication either, you know,
Wow.
at 81 and no medication. I'm on no medication. You couldn't pay me to take an aspirin or an antibiotic.
Wow.
I just wouldn't do
Wow.
it. Yeah.
Wow.
And I will add, and this isn't for everybody, my daughter's 53. I never had my kids vaccinated. So it wasn't just this one. I just don't use vaccinations. I went to India. I didn't let them vaccinate me. I don't put anything in my body that I didn't
Mm.
watch created, God didn't create. It wasn't in my kitchen. It doesn't go in
Uh-huh.
here. I'm suspect.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And so, how can people find you on Instagram?
Oh, if you go to Karen Calabrese, Karyn Calabrese, Karen Calabrese. I'm under there for my Instagram. I think I just use my name for everything because it was just easier. I
Yeah.
For everything, and I'm almost going to hit 100,000. You're way over the top, but I'm not doing all this. I haven't done it like I could, not should, like I could, but I'm getting there because I don't have a brick and mortar any longer. So now I'm devoting time to getting into you guys' world.
Oh, well, congratulations on almost getting at 100,000. You'll be over 100,000 once this episode comes out.
I think so. I hope so. I for sure I will. I mean, you have so it's. I just have to tell you how grateful I am to you as a young Black man putting this message out because our people need it so desperately. Our
Mm.
men need it so desperately. They don't realize, well, I got to have my burger. What about your heart? You're thinking you're worried about protein. What's that animal protein doing to your heart? What's it doing to your bloodstream for cancer? Cancer loves acid. What? And to have a visual like you, I'm going to be sending everybody to
Oh,
appreciate
wow.
me. Now we can't
Wow.
hear anymore.
So my final question is, what have you learned about health and healing that you would like other people to know?
What have I learned about health and healing that I would love everybody to know? Well, I think one of the things is you can't trust anything out there that's mainstream. There are a lot of things
Mm,
to trust, but you have to question. You have to read labels, and then you have to read what's in those labels. You can't just accept that the rest of the world is here to make you okay. The rest of the world is here to get you in that hospital so they can make more money. A lot of the doctors I've interviewed have said, here's the deal. We learn management, not healing, how to manage it. Right.
mm,
And so what you have to do is, okay, you have to love yourself enough to want to learn to give yourself the best. So if you learn
mm,
to love yourself, then you're going to learn that you need to do everything to maintain this. Because without this, you can't be a good mother, a good father, a good teacher, a good anything if you haven't taken care of yourself first,
mm.
like we talked about a little bit before. So that
Yeah.
reading labels, paying attention, not taking anything for granted, and realizing that there's always more to learn. There's no ceiling.
Mm,
I did one of my little posts. I like to do these little sayings, and it says, when you stop learning is when you start dying.
mm. That's so true. That is so true. Well, Karen, you are truly an inspiration to so many, especially me. I'm like, if we could have as much energy and vigor and look as fine as you do at 77, look, that's the aspiration for all of us. So thank you so much for being
Oh,
a tremendous and a beautiful example of what healthy living can look like, you know, and you are truly a demonstration of that. So thank you so much for sharing your
thank
story and
you.
your journey with us. And I just so appreciate you.
Don't disappear on me. I want to talk to you again. We don't have to do it on here. Don't disappear. I want to be
Oh, we're
friends.
connected now. We're connected now.
Okay, good.